Color holds emotion, and color also triggers emotion in the people that look at your paintings. So one thing that we can do when we're trying to build up the emotion in our paintings is be very careful of the colors that we choose, so that the colors that we choose actually correspond to the emotion that we're trying to get in the painting. So it really does depend on the subject that you're using. It can, because obviously you have local color, you have the color of the subject, but then you also have the color that you're using as an emotional tool. I want to go into the 3 dimensions of color. So we're talking about the brightness, we're talking about the actual different color, and we're talking about how the tonal values change the appearance of a color, and how you can use these to trigger emotion in your paintings. Color exists on multiple levels. So we have the different color, let's just say blue, orange, yellow, green, red. We have the different colors. Now, we also have different saturation levels, high key, low key, meaning bright, saturated, or high key colors are bright and vibrant. When you go lower and you start to lower their saturation, you lower the key, so they become low key colors or low saturated colors, the color becomes duller. So color can be bright or color can be dull, but color actually plays a different level also when it comes to tonal values. And this is actually specifically very important to watercolorists, because in a dark value, the same color is going to be perceived as being very different to what it looks like in its mid value and in its light value. So when we use color, color is actually basically worked on the 3 different dimensions that I've just spoken about: the actual color, the brightness or dullness, and the way that the tonal value is used to create a strong color or let's just say a paler color. So these 3 dimensions of color are very important to the way that you use color to create emotion in your paintings. I've actually spoken about the 3 dimensions of color in pretty much all of my books and in my courses, because it is fundamental. So this Monday, the 19th of January, we're actually going to be using color to create emotion. But there is a trap to this, because mostly what a lot of people do is they just focus on what we call the local color, meaning if you're painting a tree and the tree is brown, you paint it brown. If you paint the leaves green, that's because the leaves are green. If you see the sky is blue, you paint the sky blue. This is the local color. This is the color of the subject. And in many cases, what we do is we see the color of the subject and we put that color down on our paper. That's just the local color. And when we're doing that, when we're painting like this, we're not taking into consideration the color choices that we're making on those 3 dimensions. So the actual color choice, if it's a blue, if that blue is bright or is it dull? Is it a dark value, therefore very difficult to see because it becomes so intense in color that you actually barely see the color? Is it a mid value, therefore it becomes very strong color? Or is it a diluted color and therefore it becomes very pale? The actual color that you choose and the way you use it in its brightness, its dullness, its darkness, and its lightness changes the appearance of the color. But it actually also changes the amount of emotion that it can carry. So this is my suggestion to you. If you were to, let's just say, take a subject, imagine that it's an apple and you've taken a green apple and you want to paint this green apple, then you would consider the color of the apple. You would consider how bright or how dull, how dark and how light the colors that you're going to use to paint this apple would be. However, if you also want to add an emotional charge to the painting, then you may also want to consider incorporating into that subject some of the emotional colors that actually resonate with the emotion that you're trying to get across. So what I want to do now is I actually want to do a demonstration to show you the difference between using color in a way that creates, let's just say, a flatter, I won't say sad, but more calm effect, and then choosing color to create a brighter, more uplifting effect. Okay, what I want to do is I want to do something extremely simple, just so that we can see how the use of color, 2 different ranges of color, create 2 different moods for exactly the same subject. So let's just do something very, very simple, like a bowl. Let's just do a bowl. okay, a shallow bowl where we can see a little bit the bottom of the bowl, all right? So I'll do exactly the same subject in the other one. And what I want to do in this subject is I want to create the uplifting. Let's write it down so we can see it. So this is the uplifting atmosphere. I think I need a new pen. And this is the weight, so heavy, atmosphere. Okay, same subject, two different atmospheres. So this one I want to lift, so I'm going to use brighter colors, not necessarily warmer colors, but brighter colors specifically, and I will go through the ranges of the tonal values, the light values, the mid values, and the dark values, because in both cases I'm going to want to see the volume. So I will be careful with my tonal values, but I'll make sure that the colors in this sense are more uplifting, are brighter. Obviously, I'll have some dull colors, but I will be focusing a lot more on the brightness of the color, the saturation or the key of the color. Let's actually put a shadow falling. That will actually help us as well. All right, so just very simple, but very transparent in this case. Very transparent. We actually have in watercolor, we have different alternatives. We have what I was explaining of the three dimensions of color, but to be perfectly honest, I could actually call it the 4 dimensions of color, and I think from now on I will do so, because we actually have that range from transparent through to semi-opaque, semi-transparent, semi-opaque to opaque, which I'm actually using more and more in my painting. So you know what, I think just in this little video, I'm going to change my terminology for this, and I'll be calling it now the 4 dimensions of color. So let's go through this. Bright color. So that's green gold, a little bit of burnt sienna. These are Winsor and Newton colors. My light I will be having, let's say, coming from the left. Okay, so the left side is where my color will be, my light will be, and my shadow will be on the right side. So it doesn't necessarily have to be warm color. I could be doing the same thing with cool color, but I'm definitely going to be using color. My color gets more yellow on this side, going straight into the shadow, coming back in, where am I? Coming back in to a more orange color, going through the transition, exactly how I just did, with those lines of colors that I just showed you, coming into warmer, and also, let's just say, duller, darker and duller, to bring strength to the lightest light, or the most saturated color. And using color in this way, you're actually going to uplift very, very easily the subject that you're painting. Okay, can you see how that volume happens? And that's basically just the shift in color. That's pretty much just the shift in color. The tonal values are not that different, but the dullness and the brightness definitely are. So let's keep going with this, and then I'll start complicating it. But let's just keep the light side. That's where the light is hitting the inside of the pot, coming through here. Coming to a more orange. Coming to a more dull color, but I will actually keep it more transparent. All right. So you can see that movement in volume happening. But remember I was saying it doesn't have to be warm color. It doesn't have to be warm color that actually gets this effect. You can use cool color as well. So let's incorporate some cool color and see how we can use cool color, even if it's brighter, in the shadows, even not necessarily just in the shadows, and see if it still creates an uplifting feel. All right, so let's move back to this one. Oh. Okay, let's leave that one for a second. Let's go and do the duller one and see what we end up with. Exactly the same subject. And exactly the same process. Okay, so this one I'm going to make it weighted. I'm going to make it duller. So I'm going to use the same sort of colors, but I'm just going to change the saturation. So my yellow is not going to be a bright yellow. I think you've understood where I'm going. My orange is definitely. So if I'm wanting an atmosphere in my painting, which is more subdued, which is, let's just say more gentle, more atmospheric, but very soft, not flashy, not dynamic. I have to tone down my colors. You have to tone down your colors. You can't use flashy colors if you're wanting a calming effect. It doesn't work. So this is why just painting with local colors is not necessarily the best path when you're wanting to create different atmospheres, and understanding how we can use our colors to create more or less atmosphere, and what kind of emotion you're actually attaching to your subject is going to actually be a lot of it coming through with the color choices that you're making. So let's just put this down. Let's just do this one pretty quickly. Okay, so I think you can see with brighter color, the color makes the subject more stimulating. With duller color, the subject will look flatter. Not necessarily flatter in the sense that it has less volume, but just less stimulating, less enticing is probably the better word that I can think of. I'm just going to go back into both of these and build up some of the darker values so that we can get some more volume in. Okay, now that both of them are dry, I'm just going to put a wash over the top of both of them just to finish it, to give it a more of a finished look. And we'll see if this one starts to have more brightness and if this one more calmness. All right, here we go. Sticking with my stronger colors, not necessarily warmer colors, but stronger colors. So I will actually add some strong blues in here as well. But to begin with, I'll start with my oranges. Just basically putting on a wash on, a transparent wash on, to boost the appearance of strength of light. Welcome to the world of color, and welcome to the world of the 3 dimensions of color. And I hope this video has helped you. So if you like this content, subscribe to the channel so you get more content like this every week. And if you like the content, if it's helped you, then like it, leave comments below, Ask me any questions because I will answer the questions in the comments, and also share it as much as you like, because my goal in 2026 is to help move the watercolor scene, create more dynamic, and as much as we can, help each other to raise the level of watercolor. So that said, if I don't see you on Monday, I'll see you next Wednesday. Happy painting.